Good morning, USA, and welcome to the Bernie or Bust Show. Unshaved, unbathed, unedited, unscripted, and fueled by good coffee. Pull up a chair, have a slurp yourself. I'm working today on an article, a draft of an article, called Somebody Needs to Do Those Jobs. I've got it partly fleshed out, enough to describe it, and then I'm going to go back and finish it as I've had a chance to think about things. Our comfort is predicated on the fact that other people do much of our work for us. Most of us don't get our own food, clothing, shelter. We don't build our own cars or bicycles. Other people do these things. We contribute to a system. We have our skill set. We have our education level. And we do things for other people. But probably, especially if we were born here, especially if we are white, we have figured out how to do less for others than they do for us. And the whole thing works with money, and that's another video about how the economy works. If the property kicks in eventually of unto those who have more will be given. I think I'm in the book of Matthew there, if I remember right, until the game of Monopoly is played out. And then that some people have a little more ballast, and then things start to tip more in their favor until it's almost like they're running downhill to the top. That's a good analogy. Think about a village where everyone is roughly equal in status and where everyone pulls their own weight. They're doing different tasks. They have different abilities. Some people get the firewood. Some people deliver water. Some people make clothing. Some people raise livestock. Some people raise vegetables. But everyone's roughly equal in what they contribute. And then let's say somebody like Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life comes into the scene. And let's say that Jimmy Stewart's dad, the banker, also is part of the village. And let's say as the village grows maybe over generations, these two kinds of people, the banker and the developer, come in and figure out, or they just grow within the village. They are so good at what they do that they get surplus ahead, and they figure out how to lend that surplus to others, but they need a return on their investment. Now, Jimmy Stewart's dad, he figures out how to help people get ahead, so he uses finance to help them own their own places so they don't have to pay Mr. Potter, who's the developer. He figured out how to use usury to get people to have less. And then he cashes in on their debt. And he's the monopolist in the game of Monopoly. He owns Boardwalk, Park Place, all the railroads. He's the guy who owns more than anyone else. So if you think about what neoliberalism is, that's the developer side of it, the bad cop side of it, the speculator, the hedge fund manager, the central banker, the guys that have figured out how to put in nothing and take out everything. So the regular people that we started the village with, instead of working hard and contributing their fair share and then receiving a commensurate amount, we have the people like Potter who are bleeding them, and they end up with less and less. Pretty soon they can't afford their own homes. They're paying him rent. They're paying him for bad groceries that make them fat. They're paying him for cancer treatment. They're paying him for Roundup that they spray on their food because they don't know any better, and on and on. And that's the analogy I'm using. That's neoliberalism. We have 6 categories of voters who won't vote for politicians who are working for Mr. Potter. We have the poor and the poorly educated that are from the data of Thomas Piketty, a French economist, who figured out that they won't vote for someone who, well, they won't vote for the Clinton-Obama legacy. They've seen enough, or their instincts tell them that voting for people like that isn't going to help them. The Clinton and Obama legacy is a legacy of politicians who work for Mr. Potter, but they support gay marriage and other and women's rights and abortion, particularly. That really is the only way, the main way to tell the plutocrat servants who are on the right from those who are on the left. Then we have the Bernie or Trump people and the Bernie or bust people. Again, they won't support the Obama-Clinton legacy, and they are willing to use leverage to help persuade other people in the Democratic Party that they're not going to have vote blue no matter who. You've got young people. Again, some of them are very informed. Some of them are just instinctive. They use their intuition. But the young right now are not having it. The young are figuring out that the legacy that we have from both political parties for the last 70 years or so isn't working. They either know this intellectually or they just know it emotionally. Then you have true leftists, the intellectuals who understand how rigged our system is. They understand how predatory capitalism works. And they are to the left of even Bernie Sanders. And they won't vote for someone who is pretending to be a leftist. And they know better than any of the other people that Elizabeth Warren is a faux progressive, that she's working for the Obama-Clinton legacy. If you need proof of that, just picture Elizabeth with her hands held aloft, holding Hillary Clinton's hand aloft. She wouldn't endorse Bernie early in the contest. And now the Third Way people and the Center for American Progress people, Neera Tanden and John Cowan, and their string pullers are coming around for Elizabeth Warren. Crystal Ball had a great segment that I talked about in the last couple of days. She can see that the powers now are swinging around behind Elizabeth. They know that Biden they can't prop Biden up until next November. So they know that they need to shift behind either Elizabeth, Beto, Mayor Pete, or Kamala. And Kamala I think she got broadsided enough by Tulsi that she's not going to come back. I think voters understand that she is part of the prison industrial complex, and anyone with any kind of integrity will know not to vote for her. Mayor Pete is the white liberals candidate. They would prefer him, but I think they're figuring out that he's not going to be electable. I don't think, and there are strategic thinkers in the white liberal base that Crystal Ball mentions. So they, according to Crystal anyway, they have swung their support behind Elizabeth, and she will emerge soon as Hillary light, and it's going to be a two-person contest again instead of Bernie and Hillary in the primaries. It's going to be Bernie and Elizabeth, and then we're going to have a fight. It's going to be interesting. Mobilizing new voters is the other side. If we can't persuade enough vote blue, no matter who people, to swing early behind Bernie, if they decide to vote for Elizabeth in the primaries, then all is lost. But if we can figure out, based on their competitive nature, based on their absolute abhorrence to Donald Trump, if we can figure out how to get them behind Bernie instead of Elizabeth, then we'll have a fight in the general. But if not, the only other hope is mobilizing new voters and making sure they vote in the primaries. The Bernie or bust generation, the people who won't vote for a neoliberal for whatever reason, is about 220,000 voters. Wish we knew how to get a hold of all of them and show them that voting this time is going to be worth it, and voting for Bernie is going to be worth it. And one way to think is that we need some big donors the way Elizabeth Warren has big donors, and other people, they just think, oh, well, I'm not gonna take my chips off the table. If it's a big fight, then I'll take the big donors. I don't even think we need to do that. I think if we had lots of $27 donations trying to get the word out, we could do it without big donors. I think the Bernie or bust movement, separate from Bernie Sanders' movement, could use leverage and get Bernie the nomination. The legacy mediums are television, radio, and newspaper in that order. I think that with small donations, people chipping in, we could get enough money together to run TV and radio ads and newspaper ads. And then we could then work on the vote blue people to show them that there's no chance that Elizabeth Warren can win in the general election. And that's another video, but it's very true, blatantly true, that Elizabeth Warren can never defeat Donald Trump in a general election. Or to just mobilize enough new voters that we don't need the vote blue people to swing behind Bernie in the primaries and caucuses. If you are a small donor who could spare some of your monthly political, a lot of us are on Act Blue. We donate to progressive candidates on Act Blue. If you're one of those people, if you could consider shifting some of your money or adding some of your money to the Bernie or bust movement, then there's a chance that we can get Bernie in against the rigging of Tom Perez and the others in the DNC, Neera Tanden and John Cowan and others like that, David Brock. I don't think we have to have a big sugar daddy sort of donor. I think we could do this with small donations. But if you're a big donor with a big heart and you could understand what we're trying to do, then please let us know. I've got contact information under this video that you can use to contact the movers and shakers, the godfather of the Bernie or bust movement, which isn't me. But I can put you in touch with him, and we can turn this around. We can rise up, and we can tip the monopoly board over. We can throw Mr. Potter out, and we can make a United States that's for we the people. Let me know if you agree. Please comment, even if you disagree, in the comment section below this video. And have a great day.